Hi, here with Mr. Canada, and we're looking at cube roots or cubic roots today. So just as the square root of something that was squared got back just the base number, same thing with the cube root. If we take the cubed root of something that's cubed, we just get back that base. Okay, so uh, this is how that we see a cube root. Okay, you'll see a little 3 in that little checkmark zone. Okay, even on your calculator, they typically include the square root, really easy to find. But the cube root, they either put it behind it with that little 3, or sometimes they put a box where you actually have to fill that in, and we'll end up doing that for higher root questions. Okay, so mostly you'll see square roots, but we will work with cubic roots and higher roots too. But the square root is the one that you'll work with the most. So if we look, we want to cube a number. So, right, we've done this before. A times A times A, we get A cubed, right? We just add together our indices, right? So what 4 cubed is 64. Well, if we look at the cube root over here on this side, I said it has this little 3, and it's going to take it of whatever in here. So if that number is a perfect cube, as with the example just below is 64, we'll get back just our number 4. So here we're going to think about example 1. So what number multiplied by itself is going to result in 1,000? Well, that we've done many times before. We just haven't thought of it as being a perfect cube. Because we know 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000, right? We could take it further. If they said maybe 4 times, we'd say 10,000. Or 5 times 100,000, right? So we've been doing this before. We just didn't know about this before step of 10 to the power 3 or 10 cubed, right? So if that was our forwards process, then if I want to say take the cube root of 1,000, we're just going to get back this base number of 10, right? So where we have this in our forwards way, in our reverse way, our 3 comes there, right? We still have this base of 10 and this base of 10, and then we still end up at some point having this value of 1,000, right? Either we start with it or we end with it. So it's just 1 is forward, 1 is backwards, right? So if you can understand the forward method really well, the backwards method is just a result. So what is the cube root of 27? Well, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Or we could just do it on our calculator. So once again, these will just take practice working with to actually start to remember what they are. If not, you do have your calculator to help out, but you should try to remember all of your cube roots for that get back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10. Okay? So that's the perfect cubes to remember are 1, 8, 27, 64, and 125. Okay? So here we're going to get back the value 3. Same thing. Here we're taking the cube root of 343. I don't really expect you to know what that is. If you do, that's great. If not, you can do it on your calculator and you'll find that it's 7. So, last example, I wanted to throw in an example 4 just because it has something to do with volume. So, find the length of a side for the given volume below. Then find the surface area. So, I don't care about the surface area right now because I don't actually know what a side is. But I know one side is here, one side is here, one side is here, right? I know that my volume is equal to x to the power of 3. You do not have to do this algebraically. If you want to just work with the numbers, that's fine. I like showing where this comes from. So if we take the cube root of our 206, this will just give us x. Right? So that means x is going to be simply 206 to 5.91, we'll call it. Okay, and I rounded off there. So if we know that that is one of our side lengths, how are we going to find our surface area? Well, we have to find the area of one of our sides and then multiply by 6, right? So our area is x squared, which is 34.88. I used the number I already had in my calculator and times by the answer. So make sure you use that answer button if you can. That way you don't have a loss of digits. And then, well, I have to times that by 6. So my surface area is equal to 209.28. Okay? And that's meters squared. Do not forget your units. So, one thing I want to mention, so notice how it's 206 for the volume, meters cubed, and 209.28 for the surface area. One thing that they sometimes like to ask is, show a comparison between the volume and the surface area, what's the ratio, those kinds of questions. So, here are a variety of calculating cube roots. So, try and give them a go without a calculator, as they're just reverse of cubing something, right? So this gives you a little bit of practice. If you're stuck, then try and make sure you can do it with the calculator as well. Pause the video when you're ready. We'll go up and take over the answers. Right, so we're back. So the cube root of 1 is 1. Cube root of 125 is 5. Cube root of 16, well, how exactly can we do that? Right, cube root of that is 2.52-ish. And I wanted to show that one, and I had to pause there to actually calculate it myself on a calculator, because one thing people see is they see this 16, they're like, oh, that's a perfect square, or that's one of my, if I take it and I square it, right, that's my perfect square. I know that's just going to be 4, but it's just somewhere that people just skip over really quick. Cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root of 9, once again, this is going to be one of those ones where they try and throw curveballs, is actually 2.08, right? So, and then we have the cube root of 100,000, which is 46.42. And lastly, the cube root of something cubed just gets back our base of x. So, nextly, we have something a little bit bigger, so I'm going to give it a little bit more room. We have a volume of boxes 81 centimeters cubed. And so, I'm going to write down, I always like stating my units, taking everything out. What is the surface area of the entire box? So at the end, I want to find the surface area. Then I want to find the ratio of volume to surface area. I want to know that as well. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm answering. So what do I need for surface area? Well, I know that surface area is equal to 6 of areas, and I know my area is equal to a length squared. So I need to find the length. So I can take the cubed root of volume is equal to my length. So I can say that the cubed root of 81 is equal to x, and that is going to be equal to 4.33-ish. So save the number on the calculator, because when we carry this through, we're going to have a lot of values that depend on it. So I'm going to say that it's that many in centimeters, that way I know it's my length. So then my surface area, I'm just timesing by 6 for here. And so that's 25.9, oh, sorry, that's not my surface area. My area, I have to square this value, so I get 18.72-ish, and that's centimeters squared. Then I times that one by 6, and I get 112.32 centimeters squared for the surface area. And finally, I can go and do my last ratio. So the ratio of volume to surface area, so that's 81 to 112.32, and we can leave it there.